I shouldn't be alive right now. If you're hearing this, it means the power grid hasn't fully died where you are, and whatever's chewing this country apart hasn't reached your street yet. Or you're hiding well. My name is Malcolm Ryder. This is Station 17, out of what used to be a small, forgettable city in the middle of the United States. I'm the only one left in this building. I'm not reading off a script, and nobody is in my ear. It's just me, a cracked mic, a backup generator that drinks diesel like water, and the sound of an empty city breathing through these walls. The time is 2:19 a.m. Central. Outside the studio window, the sky is low and heavy. There's no moon anymore, or if there is, I can't see it through the smoke. I can see the orange glow of something burning a few blocks away behind the old mall. Every few minutes, there's a soft boom, like heavy things collapsing. The streetlights are doing that thing where they flicker all together, then all go dark, then come back like they're thinking about it. If you're tuning in by accident, if you're spinning the dial and you landed here, this is 93.7 FM, Station 17. If the digital display on your radio still works, you'll see the signal strength jump around. That's not just you. The whole band is dirty right now. Static keeps chewing at the edges. I'm going to tell you what happened. I'm going to tell you what I've seen in the last 24 hours. How we got from something's going on to the city is gone. Maybe you already know. Maybe it already happened where you are. Maybe you're just ahead of me in the timeline. If so, keep listening anyway. I need to talk. And maybe there's still something in this that can help you stay alive a few hours longer. This started yesterday. At least, that's when it started for me. Yesterday morning, a little after 9, I was in this same building, drinking bad coffee, staring at a rundown that nobody reads, fighting with the news feed. We're a small station. We don't break stories. We repeat them. That's what I always told people. We're an echo, not a siren. The first thing that felt off was the scanner. If you've never worked in a place like this, let me paint you a picture. In the corner of the control room, there's an old police and EMS scanner. Small gray box. Green digits. It spits out the city's pain in short, flat bursts. Car crashes, bar fights, house fires. You tune it out after a while. It becomes background noise like traffic or the hum of the AC. Yesterday, it went from background to foreground fast. At 9:17 a.m., I remember that time, because I had just checked my phone. The scanner started hitting the same code again and again. Medical emergencies, multiple calls, same kind of language. Unresponsive, but moving. Violent subject, not responding to commands. Possible seizure, subject combative. That happens. Drugs, fights, bad nights. But then the addresses started piling up. Same words, different locations. A supermarket parking lot, a daycare playground, a church basement, a bus stop. I turned the studio monitors down so I could hear it better. My producer, Lena, looked up from her laptop and said, "Something going on?" I remember shrugging and saying, "I don't know. Maybe full moon or something." Even though I knew the sky was clear and there was no full moon due. Then came the first phrase that made my stomach drop. Be advised, subject is trying to bite. Not punch, not kick. Bite. The dispatcher repeated it twice, like she didn't believe it either. Unit 3-2, confirm. Did you say the subject is attempting to bite the officers? Static. Screaming in the background. A voice yelling for a taser. And then, clear as day. Affirmative. Subject is trying to bite, repeat, bite, and not reacting to. Jesus, they're still moving. The transmission broke into static and I got this cold feeling under my ribs, like I'd just seen something in my peripheral vision. I've done this job a long time. I've heard a lot of ugly things come over that scanner. But this wasn't just ugly. It was wrong. It sounded like the beginning of a bad movie, the kind you watch with popcorn and then forget. Except the smell in the room changed. That's what I remember. It wasn't some weird poetic thing, not metal or dust or anything you'd write in a book. It was just the smell of the coffee going cold on my desk and the faint rubber stink from the cables heating up. It felt too real for the words I was hearing. Lena joked that someone must have slipped something into the water supply. Then she said, "Do we put this on air?" I told her no. First rule here was always this. You don't go live with chaotic scanner chatter unless you know what you're dealing with. You wait for the official line. You wait for the press release. You wait for the mayor's office to tell you how to say it. So we waited. That was wave 1. I didn't know it then, but that's what it was. Later, I'd think of it as the wave of denial. First, it was us in the studio, shrugging it off. People lose their minds every day. What's new? Then it was the local news anchors, smiling too hard, saying words like isolated incident and no reason to panic. Then it was the press conference where the police chief stepped up to the podium, adjusted the mic, and told everyone there had been an outbreak of mass hysteria triggered by social media rumors. He said nobody was dead. He said nobody was infected. He said there was no virus. If you're listening to me now, in whatever hole you're hiding in, you know that was a lie. Maybe he didn't know it yet. Maybe he did. It doesn't matter. That moment, that press conference, was the first wave. The denial. The part where everyone in charge decided that the worst thing that could happen was not people dying on the streets, but people panicking in their cars. From 10 a.m. to noon, the city was tense, but still pretending. Offices stayed open. Kids still went to school. People went for coffee and complained about the police barricades like it was just another protest or gas leak. We joked about it on air, lightly, the way you do when you feel something is wrong but you're scared to look it in the eye. "We're getting reports of some strange behavior downtown," I said, live at 10:37 a.m. over this same mic. "If you're in the area of Jefferson and 9th, avoid the blocks around the courthouse. Police are handling what they're calling a disruption." I remember the word disruption because Lena winced when I said it and wrote riot on a sticky note and stuck it to the soundboard. I shook my head. "They're not saying riot," I mouthed. What they were saying was isolated. What they were saying was contained. What the scanner was saying, under my voice, was something else. Multiple subjects down, not responding. They're moving again. What the hell? "Dispatch. We need more units. They're not staying down." Shots fired, shots fired, shots fired. You ever try to talk over someone who's screaming? That's what it felt like. My voice filling this frequency while, just outside of it, the city was coming apart, thread by thread. Just before noon, we lost our first station. Not our radio station. I mean the TV station across town. Channel 6. The one we always stole stories from. Their morning anchor was in the middle of a segment about local sports when she stopped, pressed her hand to her ear, and her eyes got wide. The live feed lagged, glitched, and then cut to a static technical difficulties slide that looked like it had been made back in the 90s. We have a wall of TVs in the control room, all on mute, so we can see what everyone else is doing. One by one, over the next hour, those TVs started showing the same slide, some local, some national. At 12:11 p.m., the national news channel just cut mid-sentence. The anchor's lips froze in a half-word, and their eyes flicked to something off-camera. The ticker at the bottom kept crawling for a few more seconds. CDC denies rumors of new contagion. Then the whole screen went black. Then came the emergency alert tone. If you were here, you remember it. That high, ugly blare that slices through whatever you're listening to. It hit us at the same time, every frequency carrying it like a chorus. Lena jerked her headphones off and swore. I just sat there and listened to the tone. No message under it. No calm voice saying, "This is a test." It wasn't a test. For about 10 minutes, that tone was the loudest thing in the country. Then it stopped, and the silence that followed. That was wave 3. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me step back. Tell you what happened inside this building, because that's the only piece I really own. When the emergency tone hit, our program director, Tom, ran in from his glass office, red-faced, tie crooked, phone in his hand. "Kill the music," he said. "We go live. Full coverage." I pointed at the blank screens on the wall. "With what? We don't have anything?" "Make something," he said. "We're a news station. News in crises. That's what we do." "We're a middling talk station with a dinner hour call-in show," I said. "We read weather and argue about sports. We are not—" "Today, you are," he snapped. Lena cut the song 3 minutes early. The red on-air light came up. I felt that familiar little click in my brain, that shift into performance mode, the voice I use when I know people are listening. "Good afternoon," I started, because that's how I always started. "This is Malcolm at Station 17. We're breaking from our usual schedule to bring you live updates on what's happening downtown. We're getting reports of disturbances in several neighborhoods. Police are asking people to avoid public gatherings and stay indoors until further notice." It wasn't suspenseful then. It was careful. It was safe. I was still trying not to scare anyone. That seems insane now, with the city as quiet as a tomb outside my window. Back then, don't scare anyone still felt like my job. I took the first call at 12:23 p.m. Her name was Denise, from the east side. I remember her voice. Fast, shaky, like she'd had too much coffee. "Malcolm, they're telling us to stay inside, but nobody's telling us why," she said. "My neighbor said it's drugs. My cousin says it's terrorists. The school just texted saying they're closing early, but the buses aren't here." I asked her what she'd seen. She went quiet. Then she said, "There was a man on the sidewalk across from my house. He walked into traffic, just walked into it. A car hit him, threw him up on the hood, and he just rolled off and got back up. Like nothing. He looked wrong. He was making this sound, like he forgot how to breathe. When the driver got out to check on him, he grabbed her, with his mouth. And I said the first stupid thing I would regret later. Maybe he was under the influence, I said. We don't know what we're dealing with yet, Denise. Try to stay calm, stay inside, and keep your doors locked. If you see anything else, call 911. She laughed, this short, bitter sound. I've been on hold with 911 for 20 minutes, she said. I'm calling you because you picked up. If you called 911 today, you'd get nothing. No ring, no tone, dead. Back then, the lines were just jammed. We took more calls. A man from near the hospital said there were helicopters circling low, and an entire wing of the building had been evacuated to the parking lot. People in gowns, barefoot on the asphalt, shivering, while cops formed a loose circle around them. A college kid called from a dorm near campus and said his roommate had started vomiting, then trying to claw the skin off his arms. He said campus security told them not to leave their rooms, then they shut down the Wi-Fi. A nurse called on a break. She wouldn't give her name or the name of the hospital, but I could hear the beeping of machines behind her, the sharp voices. "This is not drugs," she said. "This is something else. We've got people coming in who are bitten, deep bites, human teeth. The wounds look infected in minutes. Their temps are through the roof. They look like they've been dead a week, but they're not. We sedate them. We restrain them. They still try to get up. Something is wrong with their eyes. It's like they're not looking at you. They're looking through you." I asked her if the hospital had gotten any guidance from the CDC. She laughed, not kindly. "The CDC keeps putting us on hold," she said. "They say they're reviewing protocols." "Have you heard the word quarantine yet?" I asked. There was a pause. Someone shouted her name in the background. "I have to go," she said. "Lock your doors, Malcolm. Don't go near the ER." Then she hung up. From 12 to 1, the city tipped from denial into panic. That was wave 2. You could feel it through the phone lines. People called in not because we had answers, but because they needed to speak into something that listened back. The official channels were clogged, their feeds frozen. The mayor's Twitter account posted one last bland message about temporary measures, and then went to silence. People described traffic piling up on the main highway out of town, fights at gas stations, a grocery store where 2 people started brawling over bottled water and someone pulled a gun. Parents showed up at schools all at once, banging on the doors, demanding their kids back. Teachers tried to keep the kids calm while their phones buzzed with messages they didn't have time to read. I sat here and tried to play traffic cop with words. "Stay off the freeways if you can," I said. "If you're already in your car, try to head home, not out of town. We're hearing the roads are getting clogged and emergency vehicles can't get through. Check on your neighbors. If they're older or alone, see if they need help. We don't know how long this is going to last. Fill your bathtubs with water in case the pressure drops. If you're on any kind of regular medication, keep it close. Keep a first aid kit handy." It felt crazy to say that on air, like I was feeding some prepper fantasy. But every cell in my body was screaming that this wasn't going to be over in an hour. The power brownout hit at 1:06 p.m. The lights in the studio dimmed, and the AC cut out. The ONAIR sign flickered. The screens on the wall blipped, then came back at half brightness. For a second, I thought we'd been cut. Then I saw the small UPS box under the desk, the one we'd always joked about, doing its job. It kept the boards and the transmitter alive while the main line stumbled. Lena's screen went dark. She swore again and slapped the side of her monitor like that would help. We'd already switched to generator earlier that morning for a test. Tom decided not to shut it down. "Keep us on backup," he said. "I don't trust the grid right now." That one choice is the reason you can hear me now. Not everyone was that lucky. By 2 p.m., half the grid in the city was down. Power was patchy in the suburbs. We knew this not because of any official update, those stopped coming, but because caller after caller told us. "My lights just went out. The elevators are stuck. The gas pumps aren't working, but the guy still wants cash." Traffic lights went dark. People tried to treat them like 4-way stops, then gave up and just pushed through. Cars hit cars. Nobody came to clear them. Sometime around 2:30 p.m., the scanner stopped giving codes and started giving something else. There was a new voice, low even, repeating the same message on a loop. All units be advised. Citywide emergency is now in effect. All available personnel report to sector commands. Do not engage suspected infected without full protective gear. Headshots only. Repeat, headshots only. Lena and I just stared at each other. Did they just say? She started. I heard it, I said. We both knew what that meant. You only aim for the head in stories, games, zombie flicks. This was real. This was our city, our downtown streets, our grocery stores and corner bars and dentist offices. Headshots only. Tom came back into the studio at 2:45 p.m. His tie was gone. His shirt was untucked. He looked like he'd aged 10 years in 3 hours. I just got off the phone with my brother, he said. He's in the guard. They've been called up. He said they're treating this like a bio-event. They're using the word pathogen now. I asked what kind. He shook his head. They're not saying, or they don't know. He told me to tell everyone to stay inside. Avoid contact with anyone showing signs of whatever this is. Do we go home? Lena asked. Tom looked at me. This long look, like he wanted me to make the choice so he wouldn't have to. What do you think, Malcolm? He said. We shut down? Or we keep going? Outside, through the window, I could see traffic completely still on the overpass. A siren rose and fell, then cut off like someone had severed it mid-wail. A thin column of smoke rose from somewhere near the hospital. I thought of the nurse who'd called, the way her voice shook when she said their eyes looked wrong. I think we keep going, I said. As long as we can. People don't know what's going on. The official channels are done. They're hearing rumors and screams, and that's it. We can at least give them something. A voice. A place to check in. Lena rubbed her eyes and said, Guess I'm not making my dentist appointment today, and gave this weak half laugh that broke in the middle. Tom nodded. Okay, he said. Okay, you stay. I'll see if I can get some food from the vending machines before they get looted. He left. He never came back. I don't know when exactly he left the building. I just know that I didn't see him again. From 3 p.m. on, the city turned from panic into something harder, sharper. I call it Wave 3, the silence. At first, it was just the feeds. Websites stopped updating. Official accounts stopped posting. TV channels cut to static, then black. The scanner went quiet, except for the occasional broken transmission. You could tell the cops were still out there trying, but their voices sounded far away, tight, tired. Then the phones started to die. Not all at once. First there was a delay. You'd call someone and it would ring forever, then cut. You'd send a text and it would spin on sending for a full minute before giving up. The last message I sent that actually went through was to my sister in another state. Stay home. Don't watch the news. If it gets bad, call me on the landline. She never answered. I don't know if she saw it. We kept taking calls from landlines for longer. Those held out. Old copper is stubborn that way. At 3:37 p.m., we got the call that changed everything for me. It came in on line 3. Lena answered, listened for a second, then gestured wildly at me and put it through. Station 17, this is Malcolm. I said, you're on the air. The man's voice on the other end was low, controlled, with this strange clipped edge. You know when someone is on the verge of losing it but hanging on by their fingertips? Like that. "Is this live?" he asked. "Yes," I said. "We're live. Do you want to give your name?" "No," he said. "No names. Doesn't matter anyway. I'm a sergeant with city police. I'm in a patrol car outside of a facility. I'm not supposed to be calling you, but I don't know how long the lines are going to work, and somebody needs to hear this." Lena scribbled COP on a notepad and underlined it. I said, "Okay, you're anonymous. Tell us what you're seeing." He took a breath. I could hear something thunking softly against glass near him. A hand? A head? "There's a lot we didn't know," he said. "A lot they didn't tell us. We were told this started downtown. Some bad batch of something. Some chain reaction at the shelters. That's not true." "What do you mean?" I asked. "It started underground," he said. "Way before any of this. There's a place. They call it Facility Zero. It's not on any map. Not publicly. We were sent there first, before the streets got bad. We were told there was a gas leak. We were supposed to set up a perimeter and wait for hazmat. But when we got there..." He trailed off. "Are you still there now?" I asked. "Yes," he said. "I never left." I could hear something behind him, a faint, wet scraping sound. It made the hairs on my arms stand up. "We went inside," he said, "me and 2 others. It was wrong. No lights in the hallways, no staff, just this low alarm going on and off. You know the kind, not the big one, the one that sounds more like a heartbeat. There were signs on the walls. Biohazard, restricted. The deeper we went, the worse it smelled, like a freezer that failed a week ago." He paused, swallowing. "We found a security door," he said. "Thick metal. It had been forced open from the inside. Bent. There were marks on the floor, like something had been dragged, and footprints. Bare feet. A lot of them. The walls had what looked like handprints smeared on them. But they were wrong. Too high. Too many fingers. I don't know. It didn't make sense. I tried to keep my voice level. "Did you see anyone?" I asked. "Any staff?" "No," he said. "Just bodies." He took another breath, shakier now. "They weren't like the bodies we've been seeing in the streets," he said. "They were dry. Like they'd been dead for weeks, but there were notes on clipboards on the wall with today's date, and charts, and some of them had no eyes. Just empty sockets with wires running into them. The wires were cut, like someone ripped them out. I felt like I'd stepped into a different story. This wasn't just streets full of biting, feverish people. This was something else. On the wall near the last door," he said, "there was a whiteboard. Someone had written, 'Deployment halted,' and then crossed out 'halted' and written 'authorized' above it. Underneath that, it said, 'Phase 3 in progress.' There were initials next to it. Kessler, Langley. I wrote them down. I still have them." "Kessler and Langley," I repeated. "You're saying this outbreak started there? At that facility?" "I'm saying it didn't start in the streets," he said. "It started under them, behind locked doors, and when whatever they were keeping down there got out, it went up, into the tunnels, the basements, the sewers, the homeless shelters, the subway. Anyone already down below? They were the first wave. We were too busy looking at the top of the city to see it rising from the bottom." The soft, wet knocking sound on his end grew louder. He cursed under his breath. "They're at the car again," he said. "They don't know what they're doing. Not really, but they know I'm in here. They keep testing, pushing. They don't tire, man. I've been out here for 3 hours. They don't sit down. They don't talk. They just move. And when they hear a sound, they all turn at once, like a flock of birds." My throat felt dry. "Sergeant," I said, "why are you still there? Why didn't you fall back with your unit?" He laughed then, a low, broken laugh. "There is no unit," he said. "They're all gone. I'm the only one left from my team. The others got pulled down in the stairwell. I heard them scream through the radio and then nothing. They told us on the radio to pull back to Sector Command, but I can't get to my car without them getting me. I'm in the car, but I can't drive. There's too many of them in front and behind. They're just waiting." He went quiet for a moment. "I found something before I ran," he said, his voice dropping. "A notebook on the floor of one of the labs. Belonged to someone on the security team. The last thing they wrote was this: 'This is not an accident. Orders came from above.' They knew what Strand N could do. They wanted to see it in open conditions. They opened the doors. We are the test subjects now." "Strand N," I repeated. "You're sure that's what it said?" "Yes," he said. "Strand N. I'm looking at it now. And under that, in a different handwriting, someone wrote, 'Facility 0 failed. Ground release confirmed. Civilian exposure inevitable.' Then the rest is smeared." I didn't know what to say. The words felt too big, and at the same time, too small. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked quietly. "Because you're still on the air," he said. "Because people are listening to you. Because in a few hours there might not be anyone left who remembers this started with a choice, not a mistake. If you survive, if anyone does, they need to know this was done to us. Not by some random freak of nature. Not by bad meat or swamp gas. By people in coats with badges and clearances and project names." The knocking turned into a sharp, heavy thud. He hissed in pain. "One of them just put its face against the glass," he said, and now his control was slipping. "Malcolm, their eyes are wrong. It's like they're listening to something I can't hear." "Can you get out of there?" I asked. "Is there any way to draw them off?" He didn't answer right away. When he did, his voice was soft. "It's too late for that," he said. "But I can put this on record at least. Facility 0, Strand N ground release. You write that down. You say it as many times as you can. Make them remember." "Sergeant," I said. "I have to go," he said. "I'm going to try to make a run for the station up the road. If I make it, I'll call back. If I don't let this die with me." The line clicked and went dead. Lena took her headphones off and just stared at the console like it might start talking to her. I don't think we should have aired that," she said eventually. "What? You think it's better if people don't know?" I snapped. "He was there. He saw it." "We don't know if it's true," she said. "It could be a prank. It could be a psychotic break. We just put government experiment horror movie stuff on the air while people are already freaking out." "He knew the lingo," I said. "He knew codes. He knew things he shouldn't if he was just some guy." "You know what happens when people think this is a government thing," she said. "They don't just panic. They revolt." She wasn't wrong, but the words were out there now. Facility 0, Strand N, ground release. They'd entered the bloodstream of rumor, The next time someone called, they'd already heard them. From that point on, the story shifted. It wasn't just crazy people biting each other. It was, they did this to us. At 4:12 p.m., we lost the police scanner completely. It let out one long, high squeal and then went silent. The green digits on the front went dark. "It's not the power," Lena said. "The backup's still feeding it. The line's just dead." No more codes. No more voices. Whatever command structure had been holding out broke. Outside, the sound of sirens faded. Not with a bang. Just a gradual thinning, like a song ending one instrument at a time. The calls kept coming. A woman from the west side said the National Guard had set up a roadblock on the bridge, but people kept trying to push through. And then someone on the far side started clawing at the barricade with bloody hands, and the soldiers opened fire. She'd never heard automatic weapons in real life before. She said it sounded like metal ripping. A teenage boy called from a basement in a quiet neighborhood, whispering into the phone so he wouldn't be heard upstairs. "My dad went out to get my sister from her friend's house," he said. "He told me to stay put and lock the door. I heard shouting, and then I saw people running down the street. They weren't running right. It was like they were falling forward over their own feet. Their arms were wrong. My dad pushed my sister through the door, and then he slammed it and told me not to open it, no matter what. I heard something hit the door. Hard. It's been quiet for 20 minutes now. I don't know if he's alive or not." "Can you see outside?" I asked. "No," he said. "We covered the windows like they said to on the news this morning, before the news went away." "Do you have food? Water?" I asked. "Yeah," he said faintly. "We've got some." He was one of those, preparedness types. The ones you laugh at until something happens. "Okay," I said. "Then you stay where you are. Keep the door locked. Don't open it unless you hear your dad's voice and you're sure it's him. And even then, make him talk to you first. Ask him something only he'd know." "I can't just leave him out there," the boy whispered. "You're not leaving him," I said. "You're holding the line. That's what this is now. House by house, door by door. You're doing what he told you. You're honoring that. You understand?" He didn't answer for a while. Then he said, "Okay," and hung up. By early evening, after the sun slipped behind a wall of smoke and the sky turned this sickly red-gray, something in me snapped over from radio host to witness. I realized I wasn't just giving updates anymore. I was recording, carving words into a wall that someone might find long after I'm gone. Maybe no one will. Maybe this broadcast will just bounce around empty air until the last transmitter fries. But if someone does hear this later, I want them to know how it felt, the texture of it, the order the pieces fell in. So here's how I'm going to lay it out for you, as clean as I can, before my voice gives out. What happened in these first 2 episodes, these first 2 waves? Wave 1, denial. That started with the scanner codes, the unresponsive but moving calls, the odd, ugly word, bite, standing out like a needle in a bowl of rice. It continued with the police chief saying everything was under control, that there was no virus. It peaked with the first emergency alert tone that said nothing, then died without an explanation. Denial wasn't just official. It was in us, too. We didn't want to believe that this was the thing it sounded like. The thing we'd seen online for years. That would mean the stories were right, and we weren't ready to live inside those stories. Wave 2, panic. That was the hour of jammed highways, gas station fights, and people crowding school gates. The hour of calls from people who'd seen bodies get back up. The hour of rumors in every group chat of people saying, "I heard if they bite you, you change too," and others saying, "That's bullshit, that's just a movie thing," while their hands shook. Then came Wave 3. Silence. That's where we are now, as I sit here at 2:33 a.m., almost a full day after the first scanner code made me turn my head. Silence isn't quiet. That's what they don't tell you. Silence is full of small sounds. A generator in the basement. Distant pops you tell yourself are just transformers, not gunshots. The hum of a fridge that hasn't realized the power died 15 minutes ago. Your own breath, too loud in your ears. And underneath all that, if you listen hard enough, the shuffle of feet. I haven't left this building yet. Not really. I stepped out onto the roof once just before midnight to see how bad it was. The street below looked like a still from a nightmare. Cars locked in place at odd angles, a bus half up on the sidewalk, a fire still burning 2 blocks away, unattended. No sirens, no horns, no normal city noise at all. But there were shapes moving between the cars, slow, unhurried, like they had all the time in the world. They didn't wander randomly. That's what scared me. They moved with this awful patience, pausing now and then, tilting their heads, like they were listening to something I couldn't. When one of them turned its face up toward the roof, I dropped flat without thinking. It was too dark for it to see me. I know that. But something in my body didn't trust that. I crawled back into the stairwell and locked the door, and I haven't gone out again. For now, Station 17 is a little island, a box of light and sound in a drowned city. But I know this can't last. Fuel runs out. Food runs out. People run out. And there are questions I can't answer from here. What exactly is Strand N? Who signed off on deployment authorized? What is Facility 0 really? Who are Kessler and Langley? Why do the infected move the way they do? Like they're plugged into some signal we can't hear. If you keep listening to me, if the generator holds and the lines stay up a little longer, I'm going to try to find out. I'm going to leave this station. Not yet. Not while the night outside sounds like this, full of shuffling and distant, broken cries. But soon, when the light comes back, if it does, when I can't stand not knowing anymore. I don't know if that's brave or stupid. Maybe both. For now, this is what I can give you. Stay off the streets unless you have no choice. If you're in a building with more than one exit, block the ground level doors first. These things are strong, but they're still bodies. They're not ghosts. Heavy furniture still slows them down. If you hear someone outside calling for help, and their voice doesn't sound right, if it's slurred or too smooth or repeating the same words over and over, don't open the door. If you've been bitten, I don't know how long you have. I don't know if everyone turns. I don't know if there's some magic cutoff time. The movies say one thing. Reality feels slower. But if the fever comes and your skin goes cold and your eyes feel wrong, tie yourself down or ask someone to. Don't let yourself become another pair of hands at someone's door. And remember this, please. If nothing else, this started underground. It started in a place called Facility 0, with a pathogen called Strand N, and people decided to see what would happen if they let it out. You're not crazy for being angry about that. You're not crazy for wanting answers. You're just late to the experiment. This is Malcolm Ryder, Station 17, 93.7 FM. If you can hear me, you're not alone. Not yet. I'm going to stay on this frequency as long as I can. I'm going to keep talking. I'm going to keep taking calls if the lines hold. And when the time comes to leave this room, I'll take you with me. Through the streets, to whatever's left of Facility Zero, to whatever's beneath that. For now, stay awake if you can. Sleep in shifts. Listen to the quiet between the noises. That's where the danger lives. I'll be here. I don't know how long I sat here after that first day ended. Time isn't behaving right anymore. The clocks still work, but they don't feel true. Every hour feels stretched and warped, like the world is pulling at the edges of the day and trying to tear it open. It's 4:02 a.m. now. I didn't sleep. I tried. I leaned back in this chair, closed my eyes, and listened for anything outside that sounded like a chance, or maybe a sign that the worst had passed. It never came. Instead, the quiet outside grew heavier. Not empty quiet, pressed quiet. The kind where the dark feels aware. The kind where you know something is standing still, waiting for you to make a sound first. I've been talking non-stop because if I stop, I hear that quiet too clearly. And I'm not ready for that. The generator downstairs is starting to knock a little. A dull metallic tap that wasn't there an hour ago. It only means one thing. It's burning through the fuel faster than it should. I checked the gauge earlier, just over half full. That should last another day if nothing else goes wrong. But something always goes wrong. Before I go any further, let me tell you what happened after the sergeant hung up. I didn't want to think about it, but I have to. Because what he said didn't just change the tone of the broadcast. It changed the air in this room. Like he'd cracked open a door I didn't know existed. Facility Zero, Strand N, deployment authorized. Those words felt like keys dropped into my hand. Heavy keys. Keys to something I didn't want to open. At 5:09 p.m. God, it feels like a year ago. There was a pounding at the front entrance of the station. Loud, sharp. Not the slow, dragging thumps the infected make. This was someone using both fists. Lena jumped so hard her headphones fell off. I froze. For a few seconds, all I could hear was the pounding and the hum of the microphone in front of me. We stared at each other. Then I muted my mic and stood up. "Stay here," I told her. "No chance," she said, and followed me anyway. We crept down the hallway, past the empty production room, past Tom's office, where his coffee mug was still sitting on the desk with a ring of dried foam around the inside. The pounding got louder as we got closer to the lobby. Whoever was out there wasn't trying to be quiet. They weren't scared. They just needed in. "Malcolm," a voice called through the glass. "Is anyone in there? Please, please open the door." It was a woman's voice. Young, shaking hard, not the flat, empty tone the infected use. I glanced at Lena. She whispered, "Don't open it. You don't know if she's bitten." She was right. But that voice, it was the first normal human voice I'd heard outside this room all day. I edged closer to the glass and peeked through the curtains. There was a woman standing on the steps, mid-20s, long dark hair tied back, wearing a hospital ID badge around her neck and a jacket that had blood on the sleeves. Her face looked pale under the outdoor lights. Behind her, the street was empty. She wasn't scratching at the door. She wasn't tilting her head like the infected do. She was crying. She saw me through the curtain and pressed her hand against the glass. "Please," she whispered. "They're coming back. I don't want to die out here." Lena hissed, "Don't do this, Malcolm." Every story today has been someone saying, "Let me in," and half of them ended in screaming. You open that door, you don't know what you're letting in. I knew she was right, but I also knew something else. If I shut the door on the last living people in this city, then I wasn't any better than the people who shut us all out when this started. I unlatched the door. Lena grabbed my arm. If she's infected, she's not, I said. Look at her eyes. They were frightened, not empty. I pulled the door open. She stumbled inside before I even stepped back, almost falling into me. She locked the door behind her and then pressed her back to it like she expected something to slam into it at any second. "Thank God," she said. "Thank God someone's still alive." She was shaking all over. "What's your name?" I asked. "Mia," she said. I was a nurse at St. Anthony's." "The hospital?" Lena said. "Is it still standing?" "It's standing," Mia said. "But you don't want to go anywhere near it. They flooded the lower floors with halon gas. Half the staff died before they could get out. The ones who made it out. Some of them weren't right anymore." She swallowed hard. I saw my charge nurse turn on her own team. One second she was helping secure a patient. The next second she lunged at the anesthesiologist and tore a chunk out of his face. I ran. I didn't look back. She leaned her head against the wall. I've been running ever since. Lena stepped closer. "Are you bitten?" "No," she said firmly. I cut my arm climbing through a broken window, but that's it. I checked. The cut was clean. No swelling. No strange discoloration. It looked like a simple scrape. "What were you running from?" I asked. Mia took a shaky breath. "There's a man," she said. "Or something that used to be a man. He's different from the others. He doesn't stumble. He doesn't drag his feet. He watches. He turns his head if he hears anything. And he follows. I don't know how he finds people, but he does. He followed a group of us who escaped the hospital. There were 7 of us. By the time I got here, I was the only one left. I felt my blood go cold. "What do you mean he followed you?" I asked. "He tracks you," she said. "Not like the others. The others seem drawn to noise or movement. But this one, it's like he thinks. I saw him look right at me through a fence. He didn't run. He just started walking in my direction. Steady. Patient." "And you think he's still out there?" Lena whispered. "Yes," Mia said. "He always catches up." I helped her to one of the old couches in the break room. She kept shaking, even under a blanket. Lena whispered to me, "If she's telling the truth, that means they're evolving. Or there are types." I nodded. "We need to keep her safe, and we need to stay quiet." Mia sat with us for a long time. She didn't talk much, just stared at the door like she expected a hand to punch through it. Around 6 p.m., the phone rang again. I picked it up. It was an older man named Harris, calling from a survival shelter on the north side. He said there were 30 people holed up inside a community center. They'd barricaded the doors with tables and vending machines. They had food, water, flashlights. But something had changed outside. "They're gathering," he said, "not walking around like before. They're standing in groups, clusters, not moving, just facing the same direction, like they're waiting." "Waiting for what?" I asked. "I don't know," he said. "But when the sun set, they all turned toward the same place, the city center." "Are you sure?" I said. "All of them." "Yes." he said. Every last one. That sick feeling in my gut twisted deeper. Mia, listening behind me, whispered, "That's what the one following me did." He kept turning toward the hospital, like something was calling him back. A call. A pull. A direction. Something was guiding them. After Harris hung up, I sat here staring at the microphone. I didn't know what to tell the people listening. I didn't know how to shape this into words that didn't sound like the end of everything. I wish I could say things eased up after that. They didn't. Around 6:45 p.m., the phone lines began crackling with interference. Not static. Something else. Like a thin, electric whine rising through the cables. Lena tried switching patches, checking the old analog board, the digital board, even the backup handsets. "It's not us," she said. "Something's bleeding into the lines." "What kind of something?" I asked. She didn't answer. Then one call came through clear. A man out of breath, panicked, running, wind whipping across his phone mic. "My name is Curtis," he gasped. "I'm in Midtown. I need help. They're not just chasing anyone they see. They chase noise. They chase any sound at all. The second you step wrong, they turn their heads." "That matches what we've heard," I said. "What else are you seeing?" Curtis's breathing was sharp and fast. "They don't stay down," he said. "I watched a man crush one with a crowbar. Crushed its skull. It got back up. I don't know how. Its head was wrong. The bone was... The line cut. But it didn't go to dead air. Something whispered on the line. Not in words. More like breath shaping itself near the microphone. Lena ripped the cable out of the jack. The whisper died. We didn't take any more calls after that, for about 20 minutes. I needed a break. Not from people, just from the sound of fear. You think you know what fear sounds like until you hear a whole city breaking apart at the seams. The streets outside had changed again. I saw it through the window at 7:12 p.m. The infected weren't wandering anymore. They were spreading out, like a net, a grid, equally spaced, facing different directions, as if covering territory. I wrote it down in my notebook, underlined it. They're not random. They're forming patterns. Mia saw it too and whispered, "It's coordination, controlled behavior." "By who?" Lena asked. Mia looked at the floor. "We had a doctor at the hospital," she said. "A visiting researcher. Dr. Evelyn Kessler. I heard staff talking. Her badge let her into sub-levels I didn't even know existed. She kept asking if anyone had access to records for something called Revenant. I didn't think anything of it until today." Revenant. The word hit me like a punch, like a memory I didn't know I had. "Kessler," I whispered. "The sergeant mentioned that name too." "Then she's part of whatever this is," Mia said. "And if she was studying this, she knew something was coming." At 7:30 p.m., someone tried the back door. Not pounding, not scraping. A slow, gentle twist of the handle. A test. Like fingers feeling for weakness. We turned off every light except the one in the booth. We held our breath. The handle turned again, then stopped. We waited 5 minutes. 10. I crept toward the back hallway and listened. Nothing. Except a slow exhale. Right on the other side of the door. Not air moving through lungs. Something else. I backed away. "That's him," Mia whispered. "The one who followed me. We stayed quiet until it faded. Even now, at 4:28 a.m., I don't know if he's gone or waiting in the dark below this building. Let me take you through what happened next. The city didn't fall all at once. It fell in pieces, each one sliding into the next. Just after 8 p.m., a man named Rudy called from the North Industrial District. He was hiding under a loading dock. He said trucks had been overturned in the street. Crates smashed. Forklifts crashed through windows. But that wasn't the important part. The infected don't avoid fire, he said. They walk through it. I saw one step right into a burning truck. Didn't scream, didn't flinch. Just kept walking, skin peeling, clothes burning. Didn't matter. Did it die? I asked. Yes, he said. Eventually. But not fast. Not fast enough. He went silent for a moment, then added, something else. There were birds circling overhead, not flying away from the smoke, flying toward it, like they were drawn to whatever's happening down here. Birds. Drawn. Signals bleeding across air and phone lines. Patterns forming in the streets. None of this was simple infection. At 9:03 p.m., a caller from the south side said residents there had gathered in a cul-de-sac with flashlights and bats and tried to form a neighborhood watch group. We're not going down without a fight, the caller said proudly. 10 minutes later, he called back, whispering. They're gone, he said. All gone. Something moved through us like a wave. We didn't even see them come. You need to get inside, I said. Find shelter. No, he whispered. No time. The phone fell. I heard running, a crash, then a wet dragging sound, then nothing. Lena turned off the incoming call queue after that. No more tonight, she said. We'll lose our minds if we keep taking these. She wasn't wrong. By 10 p.m., the generator's knocking had gotten louder. I asked Mia how she'd gotten here, what route she took. She said she moved through alleys, backyards, over fences. She avoided streets. She also told us about something she saw at the hospital before she fled. There was a room on the research floor, she said. The door was open. I looked inside because I heard a sound. There were tanks, glass tanks. 5 of them. 3 were empty. 1 had blood pooled at the bottom, like someone smashed their way out. The last one still had a person inside. Or something shaped like a person. She wasn't crying now. Her voice was calm. Too calm. It wasn't dead, she said, but it also wasn't awake. It was humming. A sound came from it, like a faint vibration. The glass around it had small fractures, not like it hit the walls, more like the sound was cracking it. She looked at me. Whatever this is, it didn't start in the streets, and it didn't start with bites. It started in places where people with high clearance had keys. Then something clicked for me. The infected standing still. The patterns. The hum she heard. The interference in the phone lines. Some kind of signal. Something behind their behavior. Something older. At 11 p.m., the night outside shifted again. A fog rolled through the streets. Not thick, just enough to blur the distance. I looked down from the roof again and saw figures moving inside it, slow and steady. I expected them to wander like drunks. They didn't. They walked in straight lines, intersecting lines, like a map being traced. And in the middle of those lines, open spaces, circles, places where no infected stepped. Not because they didn't want to, because something invisible was there, pushing them, keeping them back. I watched for 10 minutes before going back inside. I wrote down what I saw. You should do that too. Writing makes things feel real when everything else feels fake. Midnight hit. The calls dropped to almost none. People were hunkered down, or dead, or too scared to speak. Then, at 12:16 a.m., a voice came through stronger than any call we'd taken all day, crisp, unbroken by static. "Station 17, do you read?" I froze. The voice wasn't from a phone line. It was coming through our emergency band, a radio designed only for police and rescue frequencies. I switched to the channel. "This is Station 17, I said. "This is Malcolm. Who is this?" The voice paused. "This is Captain Warren Ashford of the National Guard." I almost laughed. Not out of humor, just shock. "We thought the guard had fallen back," I said. "We did," Ashford said. "We fell back to the civic arena. We formed a perimeter, held it for 6 hours, then everything broke. The infected came from below, not above." "Below?" I said sharply. "You mean tunnels?" "No," he said. "Lower." He took a breath. "They burst out of the floor, Ryder. They came up through the concrete like it wasn't solid. We didn't know how to respond. Our rifles slowed them, but didn't stop them. We lost half our unit in 3 minutes." A rush of static hit, then his voice came back. "I'm calling because we found something at the arena. Something important. A case. Military grade. Locked. Marked Revenant." My heart hammered. Revenant. Kessler's project. "What was inside?" I asked. A pause. "Documents," he said. "Classified files. Enough to prove this wasn't natural. Enough to prove someone engineered this. And enough to show they expected adaptive behavior. Adaptive. Not random. Not mindless. Learning. Changing." "What do you want from me?" I asked. "I need you to keep broadcasting," he said. "If you stop, people will think the last voice fell, and that will break whatever hope is left." "Where are you now?" I asked. 3 blocks east of you," he said. "On foot. I lost my team. I'm carrying the case. If I can reach you, we can open it together." My breath caught. "You're heading here?" I whispered. "Are you insane? The streets are crawling." "I don't have a choice," he said. "Someone has to see this through." A crack of static hit the line again. Then, something else came through, not his voice. A low, fluttering tone. Soft, rhythmic. Like breathing, but not human. I felt it through the transmitter. Not sound, vibration. Then Ashford's voice came back, panicked. "They're tracking radio signals," he said. "I didn't know. I didn't—" A crash. A grunt. A scream cut short. The line went dead. I stood there staring at the board, my own voice stuck somewhere in my throat. "They're tracking the radio," Lena whispered behind me. "We're broadcasting. We're basically lighting a beacon." "We can't go off air," I said. "We can die on air," she said back. Then Mia said the worst possible thing. "They already know we're here." She was right. The slow test of the back door proved that. They knew. At 1 a.m., Lena said she couldn't take it anymore, that she needed to check on her parents across town, that she'd rather die trying than sit here waiting. She packed a bag, flashlight, water, kitchen knife. She hugged me, hugged Mia. Then she slipped out the side exit. I watched her jog across the street, keeping low behind cars. She didn't scream. I don't know if that's better or worse. I never saw her again. So now it's me and Mia, and the infected moving like a net around this place, and Captain Ashford's case lying somewhere in the dark. I know what I have to do next. But I need daylight. Or whatever passes for daylight now. For now, if you're listening, understand this. The infected are not just bodies moving on instinct. They are listening. They respond to patterns. They track sound. And some of them are learning. That thing Mia saw at the hospital, the one humming in the tank, whatever that was, I think it's connected to all of this. I think the infected are following something we cannot hear. A signal, a call, maybe even a command. And if Ashford's case is real, then someone knew this was coming long before it reached our streets. I have to find that case. I have to find the truth before the generator dies. And before the man following Mia finds this station. I'll keep talking until that happens. If you're alive and listening, stay hidden. Stay low. Stay quiet. The night belongs to them now. Daylight is our only chance, if it still comes.